here in Durham and talking to some presenters of posters, and I'm going to talk to Saskia Roeselare, who is a postdoc student at the University of Reading, postdoctoral researcher at the University of Reading, and she is presenting a poster today with the title Ordinance Servante, Roman Formation in Battle on the March. And you've been doing some exciting work with reenactments, haven't you, and learning about how Romans learnt to march.
Yes.
So do you want to tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, well, I've noticed the first problem with the sources is that they don't really talk about marching. You get a lot of sources that talk about sword fighting and things like that, but marching seems a really basic skill, because if you want to keep information in battle or on the march and make sure you don't get attacked by other people, then you have to be able to know how to march. So it seems a really basic skill that soldiers had to learn. As Vigicius also says, the first thing they have to learn beginning of training, the recruits must be taught the military basics.
So these are texts about the army, are they?
Yeah,
they're military texts. And when do they date from?
This one is sort of, most of the sources we have are sort of late antiquity, so this is 4th century, this is even I think 7th, and this is a Greek one, so that's sort of earlier. But the idea behind marching is the same throughout. So I did reenactments in an actual medieval group, so 13th century reenactment.
Where were they based?
In the Netherlands, which is where I'm from. Yeah. So I've been doing that for about 4 years. And still the idea of marching is still the same. You have to keep your position when attacking and defending and when you're marching. So the commands are also quite the same if you look at the commands and the sources and the commands that are in medieval and early modern histories. You still see the same kind of movements going on. So I thought it would be a good comparison to look at how our reenactment group did it. So we did some really easy maneuvers. I don't know whether you can see it, but here you've got two columns of 2 people that join up in one column of 4 people wide. So that's sort of really basic things.
So this is when there's 2 groups of people marching from different directions. They have to somehow get into the right rhythm with one another. And how did that go?
Well, it turned out to be really difficult to learn. So I identified some problems which I think are common to marching situations in all armies. So people have to adapt to different lengths of steps. Some people just walk faster than others, and they have to adapt them all at the same pace.
They've got different leg lengths.
And some people just walk faster and they have to slow down, and others have to speed up. So they all have to walk the same.
And is there someone at the front shouting left, right?
Yeah, that really helped. So it was really difficult. People just got out of step. With this picture you can see that they all have their feet of different lengths and they're not standing on the same foot.
No, they look a bit messy.
Yeah, they're very messy. And it did really help if you have like a signal, or we have a drummer with a drum who gives out the rhythm.
And do we know that happened in Roman times? Did they have someone play the drum?
Yeah, they more mentioned trumpets and things like that, and pipes and things like that. But it worked with a drummer and also with people shouting left, right, left. That also made it a lot easier. But yeah, people, especially in the beginning, people got really confused and they just were not able to keep their ranks, especially when they were attacking. If you start running at an enemy, they are completely at different speeds, which was very confusing. Also with weapons, people got entangled in their weapons. I had a sword and it sort of got between my legs and it sort of fell over.
Oh, you were actually doing the reenactment?
Yeah.
I standing on the sidelines with the notebook.
No, I was doing it myself. So it was really difficult. Also because we were using French commands, which is difficult to understand for Dutch people because not everybody knew French. Which I think is common for Roman armies as well, because the commands were in Latin or Greek, but not everybody would understand the language. So that was difficult. Also people joining in at different moments, because some people would have a lot of experience and other people would be new and they would have to pick up and learn from each other. So there were all these problems that occurred, which I think are common to Roman armies as well.
Is there anything special about the Roman army and the way that they marched? Anything say different from the Greek or the medieval?
Well, I think because in the Roman period, especially in the Roman Empire, you've got a professional army, so you would think that the way they learn it is different, because Greek cities, for example, would have sort of a city army where they would be taught at home rather than when they go to the army and be professional soldiers. So it's more the moment that they learn it, really. Also, Roman armies might be bigger than Greek armies, but I would have to look into that more.
Yes, that would make it even more difficult, wouldn't it? If you've got a greater number of people trying to get their legs to match.
Yeah.
Oh, so is this the first stage of your research? Or are you going to do more work?
Yeah, I definitely have to look at more sources and look at.
You've got some questions. Lots of questions here.
Yeah, especially this is really important because all this marching looks really cool, but how often was it used in actual battle situations? Because I said before, if you start attacking, it completely falls apart. At least that's what we experienced. So either they had more training to keep it working during battle, or they just didn't use it anymore when they started fighting. So that's what we'd have to look at. And so what did an actual soldier see when they were fighting? Would they all see their friends standing next to them, or would they just have a complete chaos around them? Or...
And how are you going to do that? Is that going to be more sort of hands-on experiments with reenactors?
Yeah, well, one thing is that I'd have to look very closely at a lot of battle descriptions from literary sources. Maybe archaeological sources might say a bit about it, but especially literary battle descriptions, there are loads and loads of them, so I'd have to read through them and see whether they describe formations or whether they just describe individual soldiers. And then the other bit would be more reenactments, doing more battle situations, because what we did so far was mostly marching around and sort of random sort of charge attacks with no enemies. But we would have to reenact more actual battle
situations. So can you tell the Reenactment Society what you'd like them to do? Like, can you just try and charge in a huge army for me, or is it more observation?
Yeah. Well, I would have to discuss with my society whether they want to help me with that.
Are they quite supportive of your research then? What do they think about you coming along and observing them for
Yeah, well, because I'm a member as well, so I know it from experience anyway, so they think it's kind of cool. They do a lot of historical research anyway, looking into medieval manuscripts and techniques and stuff, so they like academic.
It is very